you be minded to do so. One thing I would say about the live application, which is for a late license for George's Hall, I think this is a really tricky one because I have always been a big supporter of the nighttime economy. I was when I was a town councillor. I try to be now as a Central Beds councillor, and my bank account can confirm I still am as a private resident as well. So if there is a place in town with a late license to 4 a.m., I can definitely see the benefits of that in terms of keeping people in the town. They might stay in some of our smaller establishments a little bit longer and then move on to somewhere else a little bit later, which keeps them in the town, which is good for the nighttime economy. That said, it's obvious from listening to residents that previous businesses which have operated from this premises, there have been challenges around noise. I think something the town council might like to consider, and there's not much point in me considering it because I'm not a consultee and I'm not going to make, I will think about whether or not I try to influence any of those who are. But I would probably argue that the late license, important though it is, do we need it for 7 nights? Don't know. Perhaps more important than that is perhaps there's something to be done to try to get some conditions, because it's not just those who live nearby, it's those nearby businesses. And I'm not saying that the new business that's operating from there will behave in the way that we have sort of seen a little bit in the past. Maybe they will, maybe they won't. But if those conditions are in place, levels are kept down a little bit, not disturbing nearby businesses, which I think is really important as well, because we want to support the whole nighttime economy. Perhaps that's an approach the town council might like to take. But one last thing I would say is the one thing I think I've learned from licensing applications is that your yes has to be yes and your no has to be no. It's no good saying yes, but, or even no, but. No, maybe we would consider a different application were it to come in a different form. Yes, we are supportive of this. It will be taken probably in that binary sense, subject to some of the conditions that you might like to prompt as well. I'll leave it there because I've said quite a bit. Yeah. Thank you. I look forward to hearing your debate on it.
Thank you very much, Councillor Fage. That's great. Thank you. Okay. Is anyone online at all, Catherine? No. Okay. Thank you very much. We don't have an invited speaker this evening. So number 6, members' questions. Anybody got anything you want to raise? Councillor Skilton.
Thank you. 2 questions, if I might be so bold. First one is around an A board policy. I used to come up with my petition, which got 582 signatures and was heard at the executive committee at CBC last week. One of the items that was discussed at the meeting was A board, and I was under the impression that our A board policy was advisory and just more of an internal document, but Councillor Whitaker seems to think that we may be able to have an A board policy that's enforceable. So is that something that we'd be able to look at as a committee and actually undertake the enforcement ourselves under the General Powers Act? And the other one is Chestnut Avenue car park. There is the wall there that's leaning. I know it's come to council before I got on this council, but it seems to be leaning a little bit more, and it's popped up on Facebook a couple of times. This is the retaining wall.
Is that the one on Crab Lane?
Yeah.
The Crab Lane side.
Yeah. And also the disabled access, there isn't any there. So if there was ever an opportunity to do remedial works to that wall, providing an access ramp might be an opportunity there as well.
Okay, no, thank you very much. I'll pass over to Town Clerk. Anything you want to say, or Ian?
Quickly comment on that. I went up there with a bricklayer on Monday to have a look at that and various other bits of wall around the town, but that one in particular. And I had to look at the ramp, and I guess that has been a problem ramp for all the time it's been there, because it's got various steps that it doesn't really make it a ramp at all. I suspect the steps are there because without the steps, it's probably too steep an incline to pass some regulation or other. But if the walls were being done, it might be worthwhile trying to re-engineer the ramp at the same time.
Thank you, Ian. Peter, do you want to say
something? In regard to A boards, obviously the council does have an up-to-date policy which is available on its website. There has been in the past attempts in regard to draw revenue as a consequence of people having proper A boards. And we've also in the past tried to ensure, obviously, that people follow the agreed procedure and the process that we have. I don't recall a time where we've gone out to look at using our general powers to identify fines for people who have not followed the process. In the past, what's tended to happen, if somebody hasn't followed our due process, we've talked to them and we've encouraged them to move the A board into a more appropriate setting. If they haven't listened to us, after talking to them, we've then removed the A board.
Thank you. Any more members' questions? No? Oh, Councillor Strong.
Yes, just on the Crab Lane wall. We were getting quotes for it. I'm trying to remember whether we've actually got it in the budget for this year for the repairs there because of the urgency, because this is something the Capital Assets Working Group looked at. I'm afraid I can't remember the conclusions there, but perhaps the town clerk could enlighten us.
Yeah, if I recall, there were 3 walls that we were concerned about, and members prioritised them at the time, and there was a sum of money that was supporting that. Corinne might be able to give some more detail, and Ian might be able to give some more detail, but we are in the process of gathering quotations for each of those pieces of work, are we not?
I don't know if Karim's online, whether he can share anything.
Yes, thanks, Chair. So, hang on. Can you hear me?
Yep, we can.
Great,
Thank you.
Sorry. So, we had a report which covered 3 car parks in particular from a qualified independent surveyor that has identified certain vulnerabilities in said walls. Late last financial year, we had a discussion around apportioning some funds potentially for this financial year. Nothing was particularly agreed except for one wall which was prioritised, which has not been mentioned this evening. It's not the Chestnut Avenue one. And as colleagues have said, including the town clerk, I mean, we're in the process of getting quotes, so procuring 3 quotes from 3 bricklayers to get us a sense of where we are with all of this. And at that point there, we will be obviously discussing affordability.
Okay, thank you very much. Right, Ian, did you want to say anything?
Not a lot to add to that. I took a bricklayer around the sites on Monday. I'm taking another one around on Thursday. I think last year, while the budget was a bit tight, the recommendation from the structural engineer was that it wasn't dangerously urgent. I think that situation has changed now, and I think we also have the budget to consider it in this year.
Right, thanks. So I look forward to seeing more information about Chestnut Avenue car park repairs in the very near future then, I think. Yeah, sorry.
One thing, I mean,
final point.
Obviously we need to consider this when we've got all of the specific information in front of us. But some of the emerging opportunities, I think, are some of the walls are very, very high, and actually bringing them down to probably what, I don't know, 4 or 5 foot seems more reasonable than having something quite high. So there is other solutions that are being considered, but not for debate now, perhaps.
Okay, Ian, right, final point.
We can take some of the walls down to short wall, which is about 3.5 foot, is the sort of thing you could sit on. Some of those walls are only single brick, and they really ought to be double the thickness for the height they are. So they're coming down. We are recycling the bricks. And we are taking some bricks from one car park to another. In one part, we're considering whether we remove a wall entirely and put bollards there, which might be a cheaper solution, the working solution. So we're looking sort of imaginatively at different solutions.
Can I just stress that nothing's going to be done until members have an up-to-date report and then they make a determination about what to do. There is no decisions at this point.
I was just going to ask about that, but thank you for the clarification, Peter. No, that's great. All ideas welcome. Great, let's move on. We're going to go to the minutes and recommendations of the previous Town Centre Management Committee meeting on the 20th of February. So let's have a look. So let's go through the minutes for accuracy first. Well, page 6, page 7, page 8, page 9, page 10. Right, okay, and then any yep, and then and then any matters arising. So we'll move on to 8A. Oh no, so that's yeah, that is right. 8A from that meeting as well. So page 6, page 7, page 8, page 8. Sorry.
I just wondered in relation to 10A whether we could have an update. Have we had a response from CBC as yet?
Yeah, we got 10A. Okay.
Thank you.
Yeah, no, thank you.
I've got 10B.
Sorry, 10B, go on.
Is there any result on the electrical infrastructure in the Market Square?
Shall I deal with it here? So, after a lengthy wait, going back to last August, and escalating this to all the necessary powers that be, we're now pleased to advise that the head of service is coming on the 22nd of April with some electrical professionals to try and ascertain the nature of the issues that we've already raised for many, many months, and to hopefully find a solution to this. It's pleasing to note that this is happening at such a late debate.
Yeah, no, thank you. Councillor Foster.
I just guess following on from that, my understanding is that central beds advisors they were looking to do it within what is this or the previous financial year. Given that we're looking at the 22nd of April, that's not going to meet that timeline. So it would be interesting to see what response and feedback we get from the officers at CBC. But I think it's important that we just keep pressing. This does need to be resolved, doesn't it?
Town clerk.
Just to clarify this, the last time that I wrote connected to this, I wrote to the chief exec, raising our serious concerns connected to the health and safety. So hopefully that might have prompted some action. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. So any more on page 9? Nope. Page 10? Yep, Councillor Skilton.
Just the shop watch and CCTV. This is something that was raised by Biggleswade Community Safety Group. Just wondered if there's any further update from this update, and if shop watch is progressing, if there's been any success, do we know?
I'll pass that over to Ian, who I know has been involved in the shop watch group. So I went to the initial meeting, but I know Ian's been following up as well.
Yeah, we had a second shop watch meeting, which we actually held in this chamber, partly to show our support to shop watch and give it a bit of kudos, official recognition. We're playing a small part in that. It's really very much more up to the traders and such like to organise themselves, and we play something of a facilitating role in that together with people from CBC. The situation seems to be quite positive insofar as a lot of the issues revolved around a spate of shoplifting in the town. And through a certain pooling of information and intelligence and chance events, shall we say, a lot of the people involved in the shoplifting have ceased to be residents in Biggleswade for reasons which you can only imagine. Consequently, a lot of the trouble has subsided, and of a sort of a hit list of 10 suspects, I think we've probably only got 2 left.
And Bedfordshire Police have been doing their work then recently. Okay, thank you very much. That's good. Okay, right, good. So, okay, so we've done the minutes, done matters arising. Okay, number 9A, items for consideration. Car park update, please.
Right, the situation with the car parking is that we are working towards establishing new sets of regulations for the new ticketless car parking machines. The TRO schedule needs to be changed in order to accommodate the new operating procedures. And consequently, we have to change the wording on the boards by the ticket machines. We are proposing the following form of words as indicated in the italics. And by way of explanation, on the following page, we've got the special conditions appertaining. The last line in each section where it says it will need to be displayed to qualify. It says that on the last line of all of this, bill lanes and tangents down all the way through. And each time that occurs, it gets replaced with a car park machine is ticketless. No ticketless usually are required to be displayed at this car park. The duration of the stay. Machine cabinets machine filters shown display of duration if required. So for a ticketless machine, it's the original machine out of it. But it does mean we've got to change the wording to comply with the TRO. And the subsequent bit on that is we will have to commission some new stickers to go on the existing signs. So we don't just replace the signs, but the cheap options to put a vinyl sticker on it with the new word. So that's what we're asking with that. And we ask you to enable officers to address the TRO changes for some new particulars.
Okay, thank you, Ian. Any comments? Councillor Skilton.
Yeah, just on the TRO wording, I'm not sure we should be suggesting the TRO wording. Traffic orders are a specialist little piece of law. There'll be a specialist traffic order maker at CBC. So I suggest we just tell them that we're going ticketless and ask them to come up with the suitable wording. I suspect there'll be a normal form of words that is always used for ticketless parking in TROs. And there was something else, but I don't think it was him.
Sorry.
Oh, that was it.
Okay.
Sorry.
The,
just where it says we're talking about a phased implementation of the machines, and we're also talking about a trial. I want to make sure we are going to sort of do one as the trial before we start putting others in, and make sure we've evaluated that before we put the others in, assuming that's agreeable to the contractor. Because I didn't know if that was going to be an issue either.
Okay, I'm going to take a couple more points actually, and then if you can address them all at the end. Duncan can comment.
Thank you, Chairman. I'd agree with Councillor Skilton's comments. I think CBC have got the experts on that, and I think with respect to our officers, they're not experts on these regulations. So I think it's important that we get it right, and therefore I agree totally with Councillor Skilton. The one comment that I have got is there any ambiguity there, because it makes reference to no ticket is issued or required to be displayed at this car park for the duration of the vehicle's stay. Now, appreciating it's ticketless, but if it's a free period, is it going to be quite clear what people should do to determine how that should be working? Because I just can see that could be some confusion there, because it's ticketless, over whether or not it's actually the members of the public will actually understand what they've got to do or not do, because some will be paying, some might not be paying. Do they have to do an input if their numbers into the vehicle numbers into the machine, even though it's free? I'm not absolutely sure how that's actually going to work. So I think, could we have some clarification on that point?
Okay, Ian, do you want to answer those to quite a bit more complicated questions than I thought, but go on.
Yeah, I'm quite happy to defer to the experts at CBC on the wording. The new contract, it is a single contract which covers purchase of the machines and the service contract, so we only need the one. That covers those aspects, and the questions of the lost it. Andy, can you repeat your?
So just make sure we're going to do one in a trial.
Yes, the trial thing. Yeah. Yeah, that is something which we've agreed to, is that we take them one at a time, not all in one go, and we certainly run one up and trial it, see how it operates in the first stage, and if that works, we roll out another one and another one. 7 in total in the 3 different car parks. So we hope that we get any bugs out of the system fairly early on before rolling out the further machines.
Karim, do you want to add anything at this point as well?
Thanks,
No,
Mr. Chairman. Yes.
Right.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, yeah, I can hear you, no
please.
problem.
Thanks. So yeah, a couple of things just in answer to the question. So councillors have raised obviously some excellent points in terms of CBC kind of leading on this. This is actually the reason why we had gone to them with a form of words and asked them for their opinions and their input, if you like, on the form of words required, which is what they came back with. And we also shared that with Flowbird as well, who concurred. I mean, we're going to go back anyway to them, and we can ask them again to further tighten up the language if that's required. So, for example, in response to Councillor Strawn's, query about the free period, should that be expressly worded there that every person arriving in a car park needs to put in their car park details, because that will capture the time of arrival, if you like, of the vehicle. And then from that point, the free period triggers. So maybe, yes, we do need to add a short form of words there as well, to make that crystal clear. So we're happy to take that on board and take that back with them. But the point was, we have been engaging with them kind of throughout this quite long period. One other point in terms of the machines rollout, I completely agree with colleagues to say that yes, we will be trialing those on a first machine basis. I think, which was previously agreed that it would go in the Dan Alburn car park, and we've been monitoring that for at least a month to see how that would go. But that obviously will happen after the TPO needs to be TRO needs to be updated.
So, Karim, can I just seek clarification then that has this wording already been agreed with CBC, or is this just a wording that we're going to propose to CBC? I'm not clear as chair.
Thank you, Chair. So just stepping one step back further again, I mean, there was a resolution at a previous meeting where members had asked us to come back to this meeting, if you like, or a next meeting, so this meeting, with a form of words which you could then look at and see if it was okay or not. So that we're getting the sense, I think, that it needs further tightening up, so that's fine. But the form of words we have brought to you has been in consultation with the CBC officers initially, who actually looked into the complete TRO for us and said, yeah, the only things that need changing are along the lines which Ian has already set out.
Okay, thank you very much. That's very helpful. Any more questions? Councillor Foster.
So following on from that then, so given that we are looking to change the signage, and my understanding is that we agreed that we would review the wording of the signage prior to it being implemented. At what stage will members get oversight or a view of what's the signage? That's the first thing. And I just make the point around within the report. I have to say, when I looked at it on page 12, the second paragraph after summary, officers in action in the above resolution have scoped the current TRO for required changes with reference only to the 6 car parks and their operations. I take it that refers specifically to the town council 6 car parks. So that's the reason for that wording.
Yes, we have no control over other people's car parks.
So that's the clarification. Okay, but so in terms of the signage then, so when are we likely to see the wording for the signage?
10 o'clock.
Karim, can I ask you to comment on that, please?
Yeah, thanks. Sorry. So we will. So first, in terms of flow of this, we will go back once you've discussed this evening to CBC officers and ask them to crisp up the language further. Once that's done, essentially, once it's resolved that we can do that, then we can kind of progress with the TRO final updates. And at that point there, we will obviously, we're including Flowbird in that conversation all along. Flowbird have always told us that actually that they're collaborating with CBC anyway on this. So in a sense, all 3 parties are fully cited on what's happening with all this. The second the TRO is done, we can then agree at the same time, in parallel, if you like, with Flowbird, that the wording can be finalised for the sign covers, because essentially what we're actually going for is not new signs, we're going for new sign decals, if you like, stickers which will go on top of those. It's less glamorous, but it's still quite effective nonetheless. So that's what we're going for, we're aiming for. And at that point there, obviously, once the wording is finalized for that, along with the monitoring, if you like, of the timeline for the rollout of the machines, we can then bring a short report back to members to look at, so that you can approve the wording, basically, and then we can get the green light to do it all. So still probably one more turn of the wheel, I think, after the TRO is updated.
Thank you, Krim. That's very helpful. Okay, last question, then, Councillor Strawn.
Yes, I'm more concerned actually. The TRO, I think, is more of the legal part. I think the point that Councillor Foster may have been raising was effectively the signage on the machines and in the car parks to make it absolutely clear to the public that are using the machines about the process of actually implementing it. I think it's that signage that's more important, because with great respect, I doubt very much whether any members of the public are going to be particularly interested in the TRO until they fall foul of it. And I think the important part is actually to make sure that we've actually got the signage in the car park so that it's unambiguous.
Okay, Councillor Foster.
Exactly that. I mean,
Yep.
no, we know we've got to come up with the wordings. We've talked about having the wordings come to council. This is a committee that could do it. But if we're talking about implementation in full by September, I appreciate that's 6 months away. That in itself seems a little bit uncomfortable, given that we've got to the length of time this process has been taking already. To add another 6 months into the process. And I appreciate TROs do take time, but I wouldn't want to get to a point where we've got the TRO in place and then we've got to have a big discussion about what the wording is. I don't see why we can't get the wording decided in advance, given that it's not, to me, doesn't seem to be rocket science to put some wordings together to go on a decal as an oversticker. So I think that's one that should get moving.
Okay. Right. Well, we have got a recommendation here on the paper which we'll need to vote on. And then I guess still going to come back to council again, isn't it, for another, as Karim said, another turn of the wheel. So there's still a final opportunity, I guess, to add to that. But do you want to add anything? Sorry,
no, all I was going to say was, as much as the words here have been framed in consultation with CBC, members have raised some concerns, not least Councillor Strawn. Maybe it should be clear here that the TRO should go back to CBC, and they should listen to the observation as members and come back with some suggested alternatives, perhaps.
Okay, right. So,
do you want a proposal?
Well, yeah, I was just saying, if somebody wants to put forward a proposal, I'm happy to take it. So, yeah. So, do you want to give me a proposal then, Councillor Strawn?
I'd like to agree with the proposed TRO wording, subject to the further observations of the licensing authority being Central Beds Council, and enable officer to progress the TRO changes with the CBC legal team. So it's just adding effectively the subject to that part.
Okay. Catherine, have you got that? Thank you. Okay. All those in favour of the... yeah, sorry, seconder. Yeah. Bit too keen then. Yeah, great. Councillor Skill on the seconder. Okay. All those in favour of the amendment then? Yep. That's... Okay, so that's... is that... Are you voting, Councillor Foster? Was that, oh, it was... Okay, so that's unanimous then. That's everybody. Okay. Okay, so thank you very much for that. We'll take that one forward. Good. Right, next issue then. Calendar of town centre events, 9B. Who's introducing that? Is that Ian start, then Helen? Great. Thank you very much.
Right. First of all, to thank my colleagues for the tremendous amount of work they've put into the events calendar and the amount of research and inquiries that have resulted in getting us to this stage. Of the confirmed events, we've got 4 major annual events. These are old favourites really. So every year, the Mayor's Civic Service, the duck race this year without the carnival because they just haven't got the capacity for personal reasons this year. Third big event is Remembrance Day, which we're well into preparing for at the moment. And the 4th is the Christmas lights switch on. In addition to that, we have 7 Big Eats events on the 3rd Thursday of every month. And that one is an income generator for us. We have a potential cultural events programme subject to the UK SPF funding, and we're waiting for CBC to confirm that. And should that come our way, there should be 6 cultural events in the Market Square or the Big Theatre, run in partnership with Biggleswade Theatre, the History Society, and the Biggleswade Amateur Theatrical Society. One of the 6 cultural events will be a medieval festival run over a weekend, and that will be at the beginning of October. And then I'd like to hand over to Helen, who will tell you about the events companies they contacted. And then I'll rejoin.
Thank you. Over to you, Helen, if you give us a bit more background.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
So Funda and I have put in a lot of time and effort into trying to add extra events into our event offer in the town. So as part of this, we've contacted a number of event companies that hold events in nearby towns in Bedfordshire and Hertfordshire. These companies arrange the events fully themselves, and this met with what we were trying to do in terms of improving the event offer, but without involving large amounts of officer time and cost. So we contacted the companies with the hope that they would wish to work with us and to put on similar events in Biggleswade. And as you can see in Appendix C, there's a lot of different types of events. So everything from family events to food to entertainment. Disappointingly, the vast majority did not respond to us, despite following up with chaser emails. And a few companies did respond to say that they were fully booked. So the only potential event that we may have is Reindeer in the Square, which would be an additional event to do with our Christmas offer. And this will be discussed under item 9C, because we sourced a quote for this, so this would involve cost. So just to summarise really, and to report this back to councillors, that we have looked into this. We have contacted a large number of companies, and it looks like if we do want to improve our event offer, that there would involve a cost or trying to source funding in order to do this. Thank you.
Okay, brilliant. No, thank you very much, Helen. I just open it up for questions, and I've got some comments as well, but I'll let other colleagues have a say. Sorry, Ian, after you.
Just to come back, yeah, the Reindeer are provisionally the 15th of December.
Okay.
Subject to members' approval. Yes. The other events ideas, we have a list of, I think, 58 Appendix D. Won't trouble you with all of those tonight, or we'll be here till the morning, suggesting that we organise a meeting for members, a bit more informal, where we can go through these 58 ideas. I think Sarju has another idea, so that's 59 now. If anyone else wants to add to that, we'll gladly include them. To our visiting friend from the back, there is a proposal for an LGBT event. So pretty inclusive and open to other suggestions. Thank you.
Great, thank you very much, Ian. Open to members' questions then, please. Councillor Foster.
Firstly, thank you for the real detail in this report. I mean, it quite clearly is a lot of time and effort gone into it. And I think it's safe to say there's quite a variety of ideas, and I think it's really useful to see what other councils and what other organisations are doing. Some of these clearly perhaps more appropriate, but more sort of relevant. But I think all of them are very much worth considering. And I support the approach of actually you're trying to discuss these, and we're not going to be able to get in enough detail this evening. So absolutely try and organise a meeting, and it may be one of those where we have a reserve meeting date on a Tuesday, that we perhaps use one of those dates to allow as many members as possible to attend. It is disappointing that we haven't been able to get much more other sort of positive responses, but it doesn't mean that we aren't going to be successful in the future. So I think it's very much appreciated the sort of the ideas that we've got. Is how do we get those into practice? But I think there's the issue around budgeting, and we've got to look at the budget and whether actually as a town council we feel it's appropriate to spend money to create events to bring footfall into the town. And it's how do we work that given the sort of the financial constraints as well. So, but yeah, thank you very much for the report.
You want to say something, Town Clerk?
Just ever so briefly,
Yep.
Thank you for the positivity, Councillor Foster. If you go back several months now, you'll remember, and it's a big thank you to Helen and her team for doing this. Our preferred operating model was to try and engage people who had a specialist offer, and to do that with limited cost to the council, conscious of our capacity and our budgetary constraints. Clearly, these private organisations in an ideal circumstance would like to be paid associated with this. And that's disappointing, but it is what it is. Nevertheless, there's a wide range of other alternatives in the last appendix, which can be discussed at another time, and we can get some member direction about what they feel is credible. Thank you.
Great. Councillor Skilton, please.
Hi, yes, thank you. Just obviously, I don't want to go into any detail of any of this, especially if we're going to have a separate meeting for them. But just, I think there's an opportunity here with these events, not only to kind of celebrate our history and things like that. There's also an element of promoting inclusivity and supporting marginalised groups. I can see we've got a Pride Day on here, an International Women's Day. We haven't got a Black History Month there, and I mean, I'm relatively new to Biggleswade. I don't know much about the history, but I suspect there might be some interest there and some interest in things what we might want to do. And so yeah, I just wanted to say that events can, they don't just have to be, obviously they have to be a fun thing, but there are lots of opportunities there to spread awareness, really, and kind of help people. So thank you.
Okay, well, thank you very much. Councillor Patel.
Yeah, just going on what Councillor Skilton said, and I think it was mentioned earlier, I'm looking forward to the meeting to discuss this further, but I would look forward to possibly a Diwali event this year as well, so put that on the list.
I hear they're very good. Councillor Strawn.
I think the officers have done a tremendous job and given us many, many ideas. Clearly, there's a lot of thought that needs to go into this. And I think in practical terms of kicking through some of the newer ideas, we've probably got to be looking into the next financial year. I'm afraid I don't think it's going to be feasible or practical to look at all these events in this year. We've got a pretty good calendar now. So let's make sure we get this year right, but plan ahead for next year. And may I suggest that possibly officers could also use something called the telephone, somewhat becoming extinct with emails, to make contact with some of these event companies and to find out a little bit more about what they can do. And then when we're having an informal meeting, we can actually get a little bit more feedback and also have more ideas on some of the detail for a lot of these events that are being suggested. So I think that works quite well. But what I have noticed is that there doesn't appear to be the usual fare on the market this year at the time that the carnival parade would normally be taking place. And I appreciate why the carnival parade isn't taking place, but I believe the carnival events and the carnival week is still occurring. So it might be quite nice if that could possibly be taken on board, because I think the people would still quite like a fair in the town at that kind of midsummer to celebrate the town and celebrate the summer. So perhaps that's a thought that could be taken on board. But I think absolutely excellent with all the effort that's gone into doing this. But I think we've got to be realistic and settle for what we've actually not got to know and plan. So we're well in advance. So when it comes to the budgeting process at the end of this year for next year, we will have a much clearer idea and actually hopefully have a programme set out for next year by, say, Christmas this year.
Thanks for that, Councillor Strawn. You're quite right about the fun fair. I'd certainly seen the Biggleswade Carnival Group had advertised, I think, that on the Saturday of when the Carnival Day would have been. And I know historically we have had a fun fair in the August bank holiday period as well. So obviously we're a bit early for that, but there are certainly a couple of incidents in terms of throughout the year when we've had the fairground. So, no, it's good. I mean, my only points other than that from the chair because I think certainly the Appendix D, there's a wide range of events there, lots to discuss in detail at a future event. I've got, I'll save it for that time. My only point of clarification, which I hadn't fully understood, was in Appendix C, it refers to event companies contacted, but then on the second page, there are a number of events on there that don't seem to be run by events companies, seem to be run by local organisations. So if you could just clarify which is which, basically. I wasn't very clear because, for example, we've got a History Day with the Biggleswade History Society and so on. Well, that's not an events company, so I just okay.
Some of them weren't events companies. We brainstormed ideas, so we wanted to see a Dan Alban Day. We contacted the History Society to see if we could hold that on Dan Alban's birthday and have an event at Dan Alban. But fortunately, Biggleswade History Society, they had an event going on at that time that was completely different.
Right. Okay.
So yeah.
Okay. Okay, great. Okay, well, I've got some other questions, but I can take some of these offline that we don't need to necessarily discuss them now. But I think we've heard both from members of the public and elsewhere that there's certainly a range of activities and interests from different groups that we can take forward. Catherine. Sorry. Okay, you're far away.
Oh yes, I just wanted to add regarding the offered opportunities for different events. Perhaps Biggleswade themed event could be organized in conjunction with History Society, but at the Orchard Centre. We always talk about the utilization of that centre, and I think its meeting rooms or whatever could at least test and try pilot-like events where the groups of interest could gather. And if we put good note on media or somewhere to let others know about the success, which I believe would be a success, I think that would be a good kickstart for something that we could then continue and expand, because we keep talking about Orchard Centre as well and underutilization of it. So now there is an opportunity to probably test and try different things there. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Councillor Agnew. That's great. Okay, there is a recommendation on this. I think Councillor Foster put forward a good suggestion, but whether the recommendation covers that or not, I don't know. It's whether you feel that the recommendation is already broad enough and we would just do that automatically, or whether we feel we need another proposal. I don't know. Go on, Councillor Foster.
I'm going to make the assumption that the actions that are required will be that. So I'm happy to make the proposal that in relation that essentially the recommendation is as laid out, but officers take the relevant actions that are necessary.
Okay, thank you very much. Okay, yeah, great. Councillor Strong seconded. Okay, so all those in favour of the recommendation as suggested. Thank you very much. It's unanimous. Great. Okay, so we're on to 9C, Christmas light switch on event update report. Over to you, Ian.
Thank you, Chair. The update, I think, to keep it brief for you, Sandy Lions will provide a Santa. We have 2 quotes so far for 30-foot plus Christmas trees. We've been in contact with the lighting provider. For your information, we're in year 3 of 3 for most of the lights, and we'll have to consider a new contract for next year. For the motive lights, they're the ones that hang off the lampposts, we are in year 2 of 5. The tree lights, that's not Christmas tree lights, that's ordinary tree lights. We bought them outright last year, and the supplier will check them out for us for this Christmas. As previously mentioned elsewhere, CVC are coming to look at the electrical circuits in the Market Square on the 22nd of April. The Christmas lights will be installed after Remembrance Day and before the Christmas switch on, so somewhere between the 12th and the 28th, and sometimes that's weather permitting, and the ones they string across the road, they do on a Sunday afternoon. Yeah, provisional booking for the reindeer, thank you, Helen. And I need to get on rapidly with securing performance and making arrangements with the schools.
Okay, thank you, Ian. Anything else at 10 o'clock?
Yeah, I just wanted to reiterate that at the moment, obviously progress is being made. There's a sense, obviously, of the available budget that members determined for the new financial year, but the detail needs to be completed so that another report can come with some clear quotations from all of the different providers who are part of a very complex puzzle. The other thing I would say, what you don't see here, but we're very happy to share with members, and indeed it says that it would be doing that when members have a kind of facilitation further discussion, is there's a detailed project plan connected to this. There's a very 4, 5, 6 page Gantt chart associated with all of this. There's lots of transactional stuff that I know that Ian and other colleagues are working their way through. So it just giving members some assurance that there's a lot of hard work going on in the background, and you can see some dates in front of you when we will kind of what I would call check and come back to you to give you some reassurance about where we are in the process. And please do feel that you can contribute towards that detailed conversation that will take place. Thank you.
Thank you very much. That's great. Any questions from members at all? Excuse me, comments from members. Sorry, some water. Thank you. Councillor Strawn, sorry about that.
Just a couple of questions. Firstly, the Christmas lights and the actual decorations on the lampposts, etc. Normally we've had a report on what the proposal is for the current year to deal with what's going up, whether it's going to be the same as the previous year or how it's going to be tweaked. So I trust we will be having a report on that to a future meeting. The second point I note is the comment about the ice rink. Now, I think that from the quotation of the costs that we were getting for an ice rink were not sustainable as far as this town council was concerned as our expenditure. But if we were keen on an ice rink, it's presumably a profitable event for the people that supply it. Would it be possible for them to come and actually run it, take the money from it, and effectively could have the ice rink at no expense to the town, but the town would get the benefit of it. And if it's that good an idea, the people that run these things would, I'm sure, happily come along and run it so at no cost to the town. I think that's a far better idea than us even considering trying to do it ourselves, because we're not a commercial entity, and I don't think we should be taking on that type of risk. But if we could get an ice rink being run by others, I think that would be an interesting project.
Thank you, Councillor Strawn. Ian, do you want to comment, and then I'll come to Peter first, and then Ian, please. Yeah.
Okay. So thank you for that contribution. Obviously, the opportunity of having an ice rink, an artificial one, was debated many times before by council, and there was never an absolute determination connected to this. If you refer back to the previous papers, then the cost range was between 6,800 and 11,300 at the time, and the income range was from between 4,200 and 12,600. With us going on to the White Hart car park, these are very small offers, like 12 by 12 or 12 by 10. But I think the solution that Councillor Strawn is suggesting is much more eminently straightforward, and the risk is less obvious for the council. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Any more questions? Councillor Foster.
I guess there's some suggestions on here that are yet to be determined, as we've discussed there. So that's helpful to get the clarification there. I'm interested to see what progress, what will happen in relation to some of the feedback. I mean, clearly there was a fairly comprehensive feedback given us, and given that we've got this feedback with this is a summary. There is more that we discussed, I think, as well, Ian, it's fair to say. So let's just make sure that we're clear on exactly sort of what the layout is, because I'm not sure that it's made clear on here about the layout of where stores might be and the feedback that was given there. One of the things also was in relation to the larger the funfair ride, if you like, for the older children or older young people. Effectively, there was one, which meant there was a 45-minute wait for go on one ride. So, given that there's quite a lot of younger people and people that might be attracted to that, if we've got one ride in one place, it seems a shame. And I take on board the feedback about more entertainment rides were needed in Station Road. But I think the feedback was that Station Road was perhaps less busy. It wasn't so we ended up with, I think, with more charities down in Station Road. Some of that, so it was had less footfall than perhaps others. So how can we ensure that the traders or the volunteers and the charities that do attend are provided with as much footfall, because clearly they're putting their own time and money into attending. The master of ceremonies, I think, as we've talked about, I think we do need to make sure that is a key role, because we've given the feedback on it. I think I don't know whether it was last minute, but there's perhaps more that we can do locally to get someone who's got more interest in the town. And that, as we said, might be through some of the local theatre groups or whatever, but it needs to be someone that's got a real interest in the town and should liven it up. I mean, it felt a little bit flat at certain times.
Yeah. Go on.
I don't think now is probably the right time to go through in detail, but I'm aware that we have reached out to our colleagues at the theatre nearby to try and ascertain if there's any interest associated with what Councillor Foster just mentioned, because part of this is kind of how you present yourself and how you engage with the audience and how you make it a really live and interesting event, and that's kind of a skill, isn't it?
Yeah. I mean, I think I've mentioned this to colleagues before, and I certainly had a long conversation with Ian about giving the feedback when after the event, not long after the event. I think we do need to be careful about the layout of the market square. I think it's very important for the traders and putting things in the right places, but also making sure the fun fair is spread out so there's not kind of crushes of people and what. So I think if we do it carefully, I think we'll be okay. And obviously we did have a number of issues with the MC. The previous MC kind of letting us know quite late that he wasn't able to continue and whatever. But yeah, we've got notice now to secure someone, for the end of November. And I was very pleased to see also that the lights are not due to go up until after Remembrance Sunday, which was not the case the year previously. It looked a bit sort of out of sorts in a way. So I'm pleased that will happen as well. So great. So we've got 2 recommendations here. Unless any more questions? No. I think it's fairly straightforward, but so I think I'm not detecting any other proposals. So we'll take them one at a time. So the recommendations, first one being officers arrange a daytime meeting with members to facilitate event planning. All those in favour? Yeah. That's unanimous again. And then officers to proceed with pulling together quotes for all categories to present at the next meetings. All those in favour? Yeah, that's it, unanimous again. So thank you very much for that. Great. Okay. Now we're moving on to the licensing applications process report. It's a bit of an unusual one for the town council, and I think Ian's written a paper here that sets things out quite well. I think Councillor Fager's points earlier in the open session were very pertinent in terms of what we can discuss and what members want to discuss. And I'm conscious that we're only a committee of the council as well, so this is also a subset of the broader council. But I do think it's worthy of discussion. But I will pass over to the town clerk first, and then if Ian wants to make any points or vice versa, to sort of open the session, if you like.
Thank you very much. So as we're aware, the kind of general topic in regard to licensing was discussed relatively recently, and members asked us to bring back a paper with some options. This paper is looking at 2 elements really. Number 1, it seeks to try and clarify a future process. And number 2, it talks about an individual application which relates to the George's Hall. As much as the council is not a statutory consultee, the first part of the paper highlights those which are, and obviously Councillor Fage highlighted how this town council might be involved in discussing with the possibilities with other alternative stakeholders. What we've tried to do here is also to identify the fact that As much as there's not a defined process at the moment, and we're not routinely advised of these by Central Bedfordshire Council, there's no reason why this council can't actively check the CBC website and instigate email alerts from CBC to be notified of any such future licensing applications. And that if members are of a mind, then future licensing applications can be brought to the town council to make you aware of any, and obviously for you then to come to a view about whether or not you're generally in support or not, and how you might want to have a conversation with other statutory consultees. And obviously part of this is having a more detailed conversation around a particular premises license application, and the details of that are attached as the appendix. Thank you.
Thank you. Ian, do you want to add any further comments?
I think this is a delicate balance between trying to encourage the nighttime economy and not create too much of a nuisance. I appreciate that we are looking at new operators and licensees, potential licensees. The premises have been associated with issues, problems in the past, not on the premises, but outside the premises. So that's a concern, and clearly disturbance to neighbours and such like. It is a concern to us. We don't have statutory powers, but we'd like to make our opinions known to those that do. The 7 day a week, 11 in the morning till 3:30 in the morning license, I think is technical expression for.
Yes, Councillor Foster. Yes, yeah. That's right. Yep.
It's a long license.
Thank you.
Okay. Yep. Okay. What I'm going to do is I'm going to take this discussion report into two elements, if I may. The first bit is the process around how we may be informed around licensing issues in the future. So we'll have a discussion around that. And then the second, we can talk about, if we so wish, to talk about the specific venue in question. So comments on the first issue around the process of being made aware or being consulted on licensing issues. Councillor Foster.
Seems perfectly reasonable that and sensible that council officers, town council officers are scrutinising what licensing applications are available and are brought to council to consider. In terms of the feedback process, I mean, it seems from Councillor Fage's response there that the ward councillors be interested to know the feedback, but again have no direct responsibility on these. So that in itself may not be appropriate. But what we haven't necessarily spoken about directly is about the licensing committee, of which I think maybe Councillor Fage might be a substitute this year. But so on that basis, if you are a member of the licensing committee, maybe that is where the council can actually write directly. So whilst we could write to officers, we should also write to members of the licensing committee, who not all of whom will be actually attending the committee. Some of whom, I think, is it 3 or I can't remember, it's something like 3 that are chosen. So we would need to write to each member of the licensing committee on the basis that so we're able to provide the feedback. So, but absolutely right that we although not a formal consultee, we take the feedback and consider, and it might be that there are some that are no issues with, and there might be some where there may be challenges, or maybe we've got feedback that maybe an amendment to the proposal might be deemed to be more appropriate by the town council. So, but yeah, process-wise, that's the way I would consider we should approach it.
Okay, thank you, Councillor Foster. Any other comments on the process point around the future? Councillor Strong.
I think if Councillor Foster's suggesting that's the way forward of the council, I'd happily second that. I think it's important that we do have the process in place to at least be aware of them and make observations as appropriate, because as the local councillors, we have knowledge of the town which the licensing committee may not have. And I think it's important that we can give the local perspective from our own experiences of the nighttime economy, for want of a better description in this case, as to what some of the issues that arise that may be pertinent. But as this is generally for all applications, so we're consistent. It may be most of them we may have no observations on, but there may be occasions where our local knowledge could be very useful to the committee.
Great, thank you, Councillor Strawn. I'm conscious that probably needs to be put into I mean, there is a recommendation, but whether it needs slightly fleshing out, I'll pass
Shall I make
if you want to make a recommendation on the process point.
Yeah, so the proposal is that officers bring all licence applications to the town council, and following consideration that the officers then write to central beds councillors, to the relevant officers at central beds, and the members of the licensing committee to ensure that the feedback is received by those that may be making the right decisions.
Okay. Catherine, have you got all of that? Okay. Councillor Fage, is this relevant to this particular point? Okay, you may comment. Thank you.
That's like, oh, I beg your pardon. I think
I'm going to come to that in a minute. Don't worry.
Just to confirm, that would be that the instruction comes from town council. So it's not every application would write to all of the licensing committee.
No.
We get quite a few. From the instruction from the council to licensing committee members is eminently sensible, because they will be able to offer a steer as those who are quite close to the detail of licensing applications.
Brilliant. Thank you for your comment, Councillor Fage. That's great. Okay. So all those in favour of the proposal, second, do we have a seconder? Councillor Skilton, thank you. So all those in favour of the proposal put forward by Councillor Foster? Great, thank you very much, that's unanimous. Okay, so the second part of the discussion then is around Councillor Patel.
So just before we go on to it, I'm not sure if this should be a motion or how to go about it, but I'm pretty sure that the chair does have the power. Well, what I'm trying to do is invite the licensee to be involved in this conversation. And I believe you do have the powers to permit that.
Okay.
But I'm not sure how, whether it's a vote or not. It's just that would be appropriate to, hear their side as such.
Okay.
Regarding this application, is there lots of questions?
No, that's fine. I mean, I did speak to the town clerk about this earlier, and I suspend regulations just for a short discussion. I think if members agree, I believe I can have the power to that as a chairman. Am I right in assuming the licensee or the applicant is in the room this evening?
Yes.
Yeah, okay. I'll come in a moment. So, okay, so we do have, I think in terms of having a short discussion around this venue and the venue of the venue, it probably would be useful, in my opinion as chair, to have another side or a side to the story. So if colleagues, members are agreeable, I'll propose that we suspend the standing orders to allow the licensee to have up to 5 minutes, okay, to put forward your story or your case, I guess, not case from the legal court of law, but a side of the story around the venue itself, and then we can have a discussion based on that. Councillor Skilton.
Sorry, that's great. I just wondered if members needed to ask any questions first that the applicant may want to answer. I don't know if that'd be a better way to do it.
Or can we do it during it?
I think I prefer to hear from the and then take afterwards, just in terms of it's a bit smoother. But if you can save questions for the end, if it isn't involving the licensee, then we can still take them as well. So, am I able to just have one speaker from our guests? If you can come over to the microphone, introduce yourself for the record, for the minutes, and then you've got 5 minutes to just tell us about your license, what you're wanting to do, and then what we'll do is we'll open it to some questions from the members around the room, if that's okay.
Yeah, that's
thank you.
Fine.
Great.
Ladies and gentlemen, my name is Maurice Komolafe. I am the director of the Venue Music Bar and Lounge Limited. I'm here to represent my organization today in regards to, well, lately we have had some complaints, which is quite surprising. But I think there's been some misunderstanding and confliction with the old organization that used to be at the Judges Hall, which was a Stairway, because analyzing all the information that we've been collecting here and there, a lot of people seems to believe that it's the same organization that have changed its name and now making application for Stairway used to be open until 2 a.m. and now they've decided to open till 3:30 a.m. in the morning, and which is I believe that information is incorrect. We have no dealings with the old organization Stairway, where we don't even know who the previous owners were. We're a totally new organization, and we've decided to open up in Biggleswade because I have a lot of experience in Biggleswade. I did 25 years ago, I moved from South London myself, and I moved to Potting. And since living in Potting, I've lived in Sandy, and since then I moved to Bedford. Generally, I have lived in this area. I believe most of the Potting administration is done in Biggleswade anyway. So I see myself as a local person. I have a knowledge of the area. Generally, we have been in the entertainment market for a while. We've worked with a lot of entertainment environment in Bedford, and now we've decided to open a new company here in Biggleswade. We started about 3 weeks ago, and we've received an overwhelming welcome from the local community. And I was in fact overwhelmed with surprise, especially with the younger generation. A lot of the young people are very excited that they have a place to go to. They don't have to go to Bedford, spend a lot of money, and the risk of traveling, at night to Bedford. A lot of parents have contacted me, and they've said to me they like what we're doing, and trying to help keep their children safe and in the area. A lot of parents are quite concerned that their children have to travel all the way to Stevenage or Cambridge or Bedford in the middle of the night and coming just because there's no late night venues in Bedford, in Biggleswade. And that's the main reason why people go out of town. And, and a lot of young people as well, growing up 18, 20, 21, 22, they want to move to the big city. They want to move to London because there's more excitement, more late nights, more things like that. I believe if we have more of that around here, it will keep our young people in the area. It will keep more talent in the area. In terms of disorder and within late night environment, everybody, generally we see a lot more disorder coming from the traditional pubs, because a lot of people believe it's a place to go and get totally drunk. Most of our customers like to come out late. They don't usually get drunk in that sense. Most of the drunk people we get come from the pub. Those that come directly from home just to go out clubbing, they don't get drunk before they get to the club. And we prevent people that are extremely drunk from entering our club anyway, because we don't want issues from drunkenness in our environment. Because then it sort of, if we are having those kind of issues on the regular, then our traditional customers will not want to come there anymore. They'll be like, well, all we have here is a whole bunch of drunk people, which is not what we're trying to portray. What we have done is we're not a traditional nightclub. We are a night lounge. We're a place where people can come to chill out and meet friends and sort of have a social environment. And we are planning to open up in the daytime as well, as a sort of a bar where a trendy bar where a lot of young people can meet, socialize, and sort of have even business meetings and things like that. That is what we're trying to create, that sort of environment here. We do have those kind of bars in London and Cambridge and things, but we don't have that, around here. And I think it's something that's important for young people here, because as time goes on, as you can see, we, unlike the new generation, are no longer going to the pubs anymore.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
We've had 5 minutes there. Thank you very much for your presentation and ideas. That's very helpful.
Thank you.
Feel free to sit down over there if you wish to, or move back, but it's obviously, we've got the microphone, so it's a little bit easier. I know members have got probably got some questions as well, but I just wanted to clarify a point. You mentioned in your presentation about only wanting to stay up until 2 a.m., but the license application that we've seen says 3:30.
No, the previous, the current license in place, actually, I would say, not even, would I say previous, the current license for the premises in place is till 2 a.m. in the morning. And when we took over the lease, we had
can you speak at the microphone? Would that be sorry? Thank you.
When we took over the lease, we had a look at it, and we decided that it's not sufficient for what we are trying to do. Most of our customers we did a significant survey, and most of our clientele want a late night venue. They want more of a late night venue.
So later than 2 a.m.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. That's all right. Okay. Thank you. Great. You probably need to stand at, actually probably will need to stand at the microphone if colleagues have got questions. Sorry about that.
All right.
I'll Councillor Patel, if you want to go first, then thank you.
So, some of the concerns are staying open until 3, and then, the customers going out into the streets causing mayhem. I mean, what would you have in place to, reduce that, or, ensure that doesn't happen? I mean, do you have, what do you have in place for that?
Okay. Well, in terms of people leaving the venue, from our observations, most of the people that leave our venue mostly leave. They don't usually walk home. A lot of them do take a cab home. The ones that walk home is probably they're not many. And what we do is we close early anyway. This is a strategy that was given to us by the police, because the police believe that this strategy works all the time. We mellow down as the time gets to about 3 o'clock. We mellow down the music. We sort of, start to let people know that it's about time to finish. So what we want is what we've been trying to do, which the police has told us to do, is to allow, when we mellow down the music in that way, and then later on we turn off the music, we allow people to talk generally within we don't kick them all out. But you start to notice that people start to trickle out little by little. Because what really causes disorder is when everybody comes out at once. Then there's arguments and issues outside, but we allow them to trickle out little by little, and everybody is calling their cab and things, and going out. And we have more security agents than the usual bars normally do. On a regular night, we have 5 in place. I always make sure, even not just people that come to our venue, but that some of our security agents actually look out for other people leaving the other pubs. And if, there are some people that have been, a good example, I was there just last weekend, there was somebody, he left the pub, he fell on the floor, and some of our agents went to help him. That's what we want to see in the environment, not just look after the people within our premises, but also help the other pubs around us and work with them.
Thank you. I'm going to use chair's privilege on that one. Have you thought about joining the pub watch scheme?
Yes, we are considering it. We have had this as a discussion within our organization, and my manager, which is Alex, which is sitting right there, he has gone to speak to Eamon, who is the man in charge, and we are definitely in the process.
Okay, thank you. Questions from colleagues? Any further questions? Councillor Skilton?
Not really questions, just an observation. Thank you for coming. That's been really helpful. And thanks to Councillor Fage as well for his input in this. It has been really valuable. And I just, think that from most of our points of view, we don't want to sort of do down the nighttime economy in Biggleswade. We just want to make sure that it's always done in a sustainable way. And obviously I can't speak for colleagues, but from my point of view, that would be how would you want to approach it?
Yeah, no further questions. Okay, great. Well, thanks very much for your time, for coming and speaking to us this evening. It's not necessarily easy coming to speak at these events. I think I'll just reiterate what colleagues are saying. I think all of us in the room and at large are very supportive of the nighttime economy in the broadest sense. We just want to make it sustainable and balanced. And obviously, we're quite unique in sense of Biggleswade in that we have a lot of residents also in the town centre as well. It's not a town centre that doesn't have residents or people living there. So we are conscious of that as well, and some of them do live around where your venue is as well. So that's all very helpful, and we appreciate the coming to see us this evening and taking the time to explain everything. So thank you very much for that, and do come again to another meeting if you feel it's appropriate as well.
Thank you very much for having me as well. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you. Okay, great. Has anybody got any other questions related to that? That's Councillor Patel.
So, because it was a bit confusing, so is there an actual motion that we could put forward, or
I was just about to get to that point. Yes, right. It was. If anybody had any broader questions, we need a motion around whether we're going to support the.
Can we not discuss, Chairman?
Yeah, that's fine. Yeah, go ahead, Councillor Foster.
I think it's probably appropriate for members that before we go to a motion, that I'm not sure we've heard from everybody what their views are. I think probably should do that before we go. I mean, I think we're clear that we want to support businesses in the town, and I think what we're trying to do, certainly from my point of view, I want to make sure that we're supportive, but at the same time, it is not detrimental to the sort of the local area and the residents. So it's trying to get the right balance. I think that's the issue that probably concerns us most. It's making sure that the impact on residents in the high street and the areas behind is minimised, whilst at the same time encouraging businesses, and so you don't have this sort of close out of people going from a pub to a club and then finishing at 3:30. I think that's probably the major concern that I have. And I have to say, I'm probably not likely to be one of the customers in that respect, purely because of age and children, etc. But in terms of I completely understand why this venue is required in some respects, and why it could be provided demand for the town. So it's trying to get the right balance here, and that's the important thing. Now, I would have said 3:30 is quite a challenge, Monday to Sunday. I have to say that's what my initial thoughts were. Having heard what's been said here, the fact that 3:30 is the latest point, and actually trying to stagger it. The only concern is about the loudest of the music and making sure that that's sort of wherever possible it's minimised and doors kept shut, etc. So I have to say I was. When I first saw the report and this application, my first instinct was, blimey, that's too late. My views have changed actually, and my view is that as long as the organisers are being mindful of local residents and the impact on local residents, I am supportive.
Okay, Councillor Strong.
I think there are two elements to this. One is there is the commercial element, which is down to the applicant to make sure that it is viable, because the 7 days a week, I'm not sure I've got the stamina for 7 days a week to 3:30 in the morning, but I'm not sure how the younger generation will cope with it. But I think that it is something that, if it can work and it's viable for Biggleswade, it can probably do a lot of good for the nighttime and leisure economy of Biggleswade. And in that respect, I'm fully supportive of the principle, and I hope that it's actually a viable basis for the 7 day a week on these hours. And that may change over a period of time, but it needs the opportunity. But my concern is actually more about the nuisance element, the public element, because certainly in the past, that same venue, and I appreciate it's not the applicants who've been running it, it's not always been that friendly an atmosphere just outside that venue. A little bit, but even 9, 10 o'clock in the evening, trying to get past people on the pavement there. And I hope access arrangements are going to be appropriate. Also, there's the public safety element, because it's not the easiest place to access, I don't think, in practical terms. for all members of the community, and stairs. I do have reservations over that, but it's an existing venue, it's being used there. And provided the licensing authority is satisfied that all the appropriate actions are being taken to minimise the nuisance to the local residents and to ensure public safety, we can't object to it. I don't think we should be objecting to it, provided the licensing authority has put the appropriate conditions on to ensure the public safety and the nuisance elements are minimised. Inevitably, there will be an issue that applies with all pubs and less entertainment activities anyway. There will be the odd occasions where things don't go according to plan. But I think if the licensing authority can make sure that there are conditions in place that enable it to be operated in the right way and cause a minimum disruption to those who aren't using it, then I think we should welcome the challenge, and hopefully it will draw people into the town and for the nighttime economy, which hopefully will benefit not only this establishment, but others.
Okay, thank you, Councillor Strawn. Councillor Patel.
So just a quick one, I'm not sure if this is allowed, but can we just clarify if it's going to be 7 days a week until 3:30?
That's it's not going to be, no organisation, no venue can actually focus. Yeah, the reason why we made such a thing is just to be uniform, and secondly is also to accommodate for people that want to have sort of birthday parties or there's periodical events, not it's not something that happens every day. Birthdays or parties, or let's say one of you guys want to have a birthday party, you're welcome to do so. So or maybe you want to have a delivery late or a business event, those kind of things. That's why we put those guidelines.
So just to clarify, it's more of a sort of blanket license rather than you're wanting to regularly hold your own commercial events there.
Yeah, our own commercial events is only on Fridays and Saturdays, and that's it.
Okay. All right. Okay. That's helpful. Okay. Thank you, Councillor Patel. Any other points, questions? And then we can, I mean, just at this juncture, what I'd like to do is just remind colleagues, there are only 4 grounds that you can, that are refusal, are the licensing principles, which are the prevention of crime and disorder, public safety, the prevention of public nuisance, and the protection of children from harm. I think that colleagues have really expressed the most concern around sort of number 3, which is the prevention of public nuisance, really. But as Councillor Strawn was saying, I think if the licensing committee and the licensing authority can feel those have been met, then then that's probably appropriate. But otherwise, I think we can go to a vote on the application, I guess, in terms of whether we send off or how we send our views in. Sorry, Councillor Fage, if you want to add anything finally.
Sorry, just to clarify, it's not just the opportunity to refuse, it's conditions as well need to be tied to one of those 4. If you choose to refuse, it needs to be on the grounds of one of those 4 if you want to provide conditions, but you could just do nothing. Bearing in mind what I said at the beginning of this meeting, that anything would just be a representation provided to others and not as a consultee.
Yeah, thank you very much. Thanks for the clarification. Okay. Councillor Thomas.
Can I just say one thing? I mean, I regularly frequent pubs and sometimes they're open late and sometimes it's a Sunday. And we're always asked to leave quietly, even at about 11 o'clock on a Sunday. So I presume the same rules apply. So if there's any issues of nuisance, etc., I'm sure the authorities will be involved. And also the same with the police. You've consulted with the police and they're the ones who had to deal with the previous owners, etc. And they had all the problems. And I'm fairly sure the police wouldn't get involved and sort things out if there was an issue. So and in terms of that, they've got to abide with the same rules as all the pubs and all the establishments, even the restaurants and the sort of late night opening takeaways as well. Yeah. So on that grounds, I don't think we should even worry about it unless there is a problem down the line. And if there is a problem, then it'll be dealt with by the authorities. So I have no problem of agreeing with the licence.
All right, Councillor Foster.
Are you happy to take a proposal at this stage?
Yeah, I think so. I think unless there's anyone
Any
online,
other
Catherine.
comments?
I'm just checking if there's anyone online that wanted to say anything, because I obviously can't see behind. So, but no, there isn't. So go ahead, Councillor Foster, far away.
Well, my proposal is that the in line with the resolution previously, that council officers write to the licensing authority, the ward councillors, and I can't remember the other one, in relation to this application, formally have no objection to this application, but noting that the conditions in relation to this should ensure that the disruption to local residents is minimised.
Okay. Okay. Is there a seconder for that?
Yep.
Yep. Councillor Patel, seconder for that. Yep. Councillor Strawn, is this relevant to the point?
Yes, it is.
Okay.
The only observation I was going to make, I was going to suggest it was also subject to the observations of the statutory consultees. But
okay. I would have thought, wouldn't the statutory constitution sort of be inherent in that process anyway?
Yeah, I think.
Yeah,
I would say that
we need to be explicit about
probably
it.
doesn't need it for this particular.
proposal.
Okay. So is everyone clear on Councillor Foster's proposal? Okay. All those in favour? Oh, yes, it has. Councillor Patel seconded it. Yeah. Okay. Brilliant. Thank you very much. Thank you. Our colleagues in the visitor seats, if you want to stay, you're very welcome. We've got a couple of other items. Otherwise, feel free to leave. It's entirely up to you. So it might be a late one. Thank you. No, thank you for coming to see us. Thank you. Thank you. I probably should have unsuspended standing orders again, but I think you got where I was. Standing orders back in place. There we are. Thank you. That was a bit of an unusual on that, but thanks colleagues for bearing with us on that one, because I think it was important we had their perspective. Otherwise, it would have been a very disjointed conversation. So we're just on to a few items for information now. Okay, 10A Biggleswade 5K run. Over to you, Ian.
Yeah, 5K run is taking place on Sunday the 26th of May. That's in the middle of the bank holiday. Officers are meeting with the organiser on Thursday. That's Mr. Jones of Jones Fitness, Aiden. We've invited councillors Woodhead, Patel and Jones to attend, should they so wish. We're waiting for the CBC Safety Advisory Group to give final approval. Hope we're compliant with that. We've been trying to steer it through that. The route has already been approved, which is good news. BTC are not the organisers, but we will promote it through social media, website and communication channels once CBC have given approval through the Safety Advisory Group.
Thanks, Ian, for that. Any comments, questions? Councillor Strong.
Just a question. I looked at the plan. I think the reference to proceeding towards Jordan's Mill is actually technically Franklin's Mill, which is the one down at Mill Lane, because Jordan's Mill is is the one up at the Broom. I think that is originally Franklin's Mill at that point. So I think that's the one that's been referred to, is the one at Mill Lane.
Yeah, Franklin's Mill is on Mill Lane. That's right. Yes. Yeah.
So I think it proceeds to that mill, not to Jordan's Mill in the.
Yes, I believe that's been correct. But can we get some clarification on that?
My understanding is it's to Jordan's Mill.
It is to Jordan's Mill. Okay, which is still within the Biggleswade parish.
It's 5K and it is one circuit.
Okay. All right. Well, we can share the appropriate map in due course, but sorry, Councillor Foster.
I was going to say, if the map had been in the report, we wouldn't have this debate, is what I was going to say, without being too flippant about it. I know we've seen the map previously. When is it that we're likely to do you think, get a response from the Safety Advisory Group in relation to this? And given that we're talking 6 weeks' time, that this is likely to be, the event is going to be held.
Ian?
Yeah, it's never entirely down to one individual, but somebody has been on leave for a couple of weeks. I think they got back on Monday. So I'm expecting something to progress rapidly. Be nice to see it by the end of this week, but I think we could give them another reminder.
Thank you. Any more questions on the 5K run? No. Okay. It's just for information, so we don't need to vote on anything. So, okay, 10B, D-Day anniversary update. Over to you, Ian.
That's me again. Yeah, further planning meeting has been arranged for Tuesday the 23rd, next week. The Royal British Legion and the Shuttleworth Collection, and we'll be putting together a programme and basically sorting out the last remaining items with them to make sure it's run smoothly on the day. It is the Royal British Legion's event. We are there in support. Shuttleworth are providing some vehicles. They previously mentioned issues with escorts for getting it across the vehicles across the A1. They're providing their own escort now, so that's taken care of.
Brilliant, thank you. Any questions on that? Councillor Skilton.
Is there any traffic management in the town centre for any of this?
In what sense? My understanding it's going to be in front of where the
White Hart
surfing
car
cafe
park.
is.
Oh,
Surfing cafe.
Sorry.
Yeah, in the square.
What's happening in the White Hart car park? Sorry.
That's gone in. You clarify, please.
The White Hart car park is a potential venue for the food trucks with big eats. So from 5 o'clock, so they don't sort of interfere with the area around the Market Square and the Royal Memorial, where the main event is going on, and the historic vehicles will be.
I think what was the plan was that because Big Eats was scheduled to come on that evening anyway, and I think it was talked about that they would still be okay for them to come, but what you didn't want to do is setting up in the middle of, you know, the memorial service, or it was just inappropriate. So if they were to go in the White Hart car park, they could still sort of be over there while other things are happening in the Market Square. So it's a bit imperfect, but I think it's a solution that's probably better than setting up all the vans in the Market Square while there's, you know, things going on. But yeah.
Yes, I mean, the reason I asked is just with my day job hat on, you're probably going to get quite a lot of people not using the zebra crossing at White Hart and just milling across there. And so, you know, I don't know. I don't want to throw a spanner in the works or anything like that. I'm fully supportive of this, but it just sort of made me a little bit nervous, and with sort of my traffic hat on.
Okay, I think maybe if Ian can look into that then as a possible factor or risk, and then maybe either come back to council or happy as me as chair, and we can try and look at further solutions, or even Councillor Skilton might have some other practical suggestions how we can solve that, whether that's, you know, volunteers and Biggleswade Community Safety Group or others, I don't know, but I'm sure a solution can be found. But if Ian can look into that, I'm sure I wouldn't want that bit to stop the whole event from going ahead. So.
And we've asked Big Eats to start later than they usually do, from 5 o'clock.
Yeah, that's great. Any more? Sorry, Councillor Strawn.
Yes, Chairman. I think we ought to remember also that it is a Thursday, this event. It's not a weekend, and therefore it's not a bank holiday or anything like that. So there could be the normal business traffic, etc., going through the town on that day. And I think it's essential that we've consulted with the appropriate Highways Authority consultees, etc., to make sure that we've got all the appropriate safety procedures in place, because it's starting off during the working day, It's going on into the evening when it would be probably less problematical. But I think we have got to be just conscious that we need to make sure that we've got all the appropriate safety measures in place. Councillor Skilton's points about people milling across the road, etc., from other events that have taken place. I think fully supportive of it. It needs to go ahead. It needs to be very, very successful. But we must make sure it's successful by making sure we've got all the appropriate precautions in place.
No, point taken. And I'm due to attend the meeting on the 23rd next Tuesday as chair of TCM as well, so I can reiterate these points and make sure we've got them covered. So, Councillor Foster.
I'm just mindful of the fact. I mean, it's echoing the comments here. I mean, what other options are there? Any other options that have been considered in terms of where Big Eats might go? Is it necessary that it's the White Hart car park? And I consider as officers and the organisers think, are there other options that could be done that could perhaps minimise the impact in relation to where things are? I think the other thing is just to note is perhaps it would be nice for members to have a formal invitation to that. So do it as a calendar invitation, so as a reminder, so that there is some representation from the town council to attend this event. If we've got a calendar invite, it's just helpful to remind us. Yeah, I think that's it. Thank you.
I mean, just on that point, certainly, I realise that the 6th of June is Thursday, it's a working day, but the 2 o'clock there is a sort of national, service of remembrance, which is why we're timing ours at 2 o'clock as well. So maybe that's the bit that it's probably the councillor's attendance the most important part. But yeah, that's a case in point. Yeah, Councillor Thomas.
Are you closing the road, the normal road where the market usually is?
Ian, what's the expectation around the road closure on the market?
We haven't gone for a road closure as such.
No, I didn't think there was, but because when I think the vehicles come, I guess it'll be temporary. But whether that should be looked into, I guess we can figure out in the meeting on Tuesday. But it might be worth at least thinking about it and either discounting it or looking into it. But how necessary that's going to be. But okay, good. Brilliant. Okay, that's the final item of information. We don't have any. Well, we did have some public, but they've already gone. And I don't think is anybody else. No, nobody. No one's online, are they, Catherine? No. Brilliant. Great. We don't have any exempt items. So thanks all. Thank you all online for joining in this evening. The tech seems to have worked, so maybe we've reached a success. But yeah, thanks for all your contributions and thanks for coming. Cheers.